without further ado, love talking to my boy. Don't forget, at 4:30, we will talk to our friend Gary Cobb. Please hit the like button. Here he is from Birds 365, our friend Big Z, Zander Krause.
What's up, Big Sills?
How you doing, brother?
Good, man. How you doing?
Interesting time right now, right? I mean,
yeah, man. I was watching the combines before I came on here. I quickly remembered how stupid they can be, but the NFL is good at making
right?
something.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. How about this? And Baldinger and I kind of said it yesterday, but I'll even add this now. Do you agree or maybe you don't agree? I'll say this, that the free agent class and this draft, I think it's the worst draft in 15 years. There's probably 13 players that could be potential game changers, and not one of them are the quarterbacks. I think you can get a pick at 15 and to pick at 32. I don't think it's going to be that much of a difference.
Yeah.
And I'm with Baldy, man. And
dude, they're saying it's like 15 to 50.
Like, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
all comparable.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's more probably to it. I'm trying to be kind here. And then you have the shitty free agency. This hurts Philly because Philly has great players that are going to be free agents. Dude, to me, again, the Eagles there could be some damage done to the roster because of the market temperature. Well, wait, Zander, where am I going to go to get a great linebacker? I'm going to go to Philly. Where am I going to go to get an edge? I'm going to go to Philly. Where am I going to go to get a right guard who's coached by Stoutland? I'm going to go to Becton. I'm not saying all of this is happening, but you have the best players in free agency on the world champion team versus trying to go find – why would I want to take a player off the Jets?
You don't, but you got 4 big ones. Can you get any of them back? And does the free agency and the draft, as you mentioned, which is weak overall, it is in my estimation too, does that change the way you approach the offseason? I mean, because if there's if you go into the offseason and there's 30 linebackers between the draft and free agency that you can get for good money, you're probably not signing Baun. But if you don't feel like there's a good comparable replacement for him, does that tilt your hand on what you do there? The other thing that has me wondering is, with the free agency being so limited and with the inevitable roster turnover coming, does the trade for Myles Garrett make less and less sense for the Eagles because those assets are going to be needed to build out the bottom of their roster? Like, how can you give up? If you're talking about 3 picks, 4 picks, that's 4 bodies you could have on this team for the next 4 years. I'm not saying they're going to be better than Myles, but those are the depth pieces that are going to make up the rest of your roster if you don't feel good about going and getting players in free agency or undrafted guys or whatever. So, I don't know. It's an interesting time of the year, but free agency, not good. Draft is – there's some guys I really like in the draft, so I don't want to act like there's nobody.
Yeah.
But it's not super deep. It's everybody's pretty comparable outside of the top 10 guys, and from there it's close. But I do wonder how it's going to affect the Eagles' plans this offseason.
How about this, though, Zander? You said it. Dude, if the 15th pick and the 50th pick are the same, well, what's the point of not giving up 2s and 3s for Myles Garrett when I could get a guy in the 3rd round and I could have a guy give me the kind of play like Fred Warner. Fred Warner was a 3rd rounder for the 49ers. I could get a guy like that or Jacoby or somebody like that. That, to me, if you're talking about the 50th pick and the 15th pick being the same, why not put some draft capital together this year to go get Myles Garrett? I mean, I think it's going to be like I said, I think you got a ton of question marks here. And now, again, nobody's saying, hey, he's not going to, because he has shown in the last 5 years that he has been able to do that. You've been to 2 Super Bowls inside of 4 years. Okay? I mean, he has shown he can. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's a little bit more question marks here. I want to go down this list with you here. And these are some of the areas heading into this combines for me that I want to see. And I said that I'd like to see a backup center drafted because I think the kid they signed last year in the 7th round is not very good.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see Landon Dickerson being
– No, they let that guy go.
They let him go?
Dylan McMahon, he didn't even make the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then somebody picked him up, but yeah, he was the only draft pick in recent years that we let go. Yeah, we let him go.
I think they need. I'm not saying 1, 2, 3. Jason Kelsey was a 6th rounder. You got Kelsey in the building. I think you need a little depth there because I thought in the playoffs they got away with it because of Landon. But look at those two guys. At the end of the year, Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens were hanging on by a tendon.
A tendon, literally. That's putting it mildly. And dude, I mean, let's be real here. I'm really pumped with Cam Jurgens and what he's been.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, that's a nasty injury, what he's dealing with right now this offseason. You're talking about back, nerve, discs, all sorts of different things. And remember, we've done this already on the show. You have a player that's job every single day is this, right?
Yeah.
You're blocking 300-pound men coming at you, hitting you as hard as they can over and over and over again. I mean, that makes my back hurt just doing this.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and now you got a guy getting operated on early in his career. Look, I hope it all goes well, and I hope everything is good there. But I would be thinking about a potential interior guy that could play center in the first 3 rounds. I mean, I know you said late rounds. They'll probably will go there in the late rounds, but I wouldn't rule it out in the first couple of rounds too. Yeah. Yep. I mean, look, this is a team that dominated the NFL this year for one reason, because they're great in the trenches.
That's right.
So
both sides.
So, all the people who want, people love pretty picks. People love sexy picks. People love sexy signings and free agents and all that stuff. Don't be mad. Don't be upset when this team drafts trench guys. It never pisses me off. I'll never be upset about it. If you told me right now today on February 27th that our first, second, and third round draft picks are going to be interior offensive lineman, a tackle, and a defensive lineman, I would say great. I'm good with that. I'm perfectly good with that. I have no issue with it. So they're going to keep doing it. The question would be is how confident are the Eagles in Cam Jurgens? They obviously know a lot more about him than I do. How are they wondering the same thing I'm wondering? I think it would be fair for them to wonder that. So, I think that would dictate on how early they would go. But I think a depth guy there is for sure. Now they do have Nick Gates. I think they brought him back, or did they let him go recently? I can't keep up with the whole back end right now because there's just so much change there. But they got some options. The other thing with that is, Sills, is you feel pretty good about the Eagles' ability to kind of turn garbage to gold.
Yeah,
I mean, look at Mekhi Becton, right?
Yeah.
They got him in a futures deal after the draft.
Yeah.
They couldn't draft a tackle, so they picked up Mekhi Becton. He was supposed to be the swing tackle, and it worked out. Look what it turned into. So I do feel better about that because of Stoutland, but there's no doubt they're going to be thinking about it.
Right guard, you feel pretty good about it if Becton's back. I mean, you have Steen, you'll have Trevor Keegan that you're trying to develop as well. I mean, you could put Driscoll. I mean, I don't know what his status is going to be because he's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. All depending on
right now, so
all depending on Becton there, though. I mean, you're pretty good there at right guard, and I feel pretty comfortable that he's coming back. I do.
I feel pretty good about it too. Of course, somebody could wow him. Somebody could. It's not out of possibility, but I certainly feel pretty good about that right guard. I mean, look, this team was such a dominant run team, and he was such a big part of it. He wasn't the greatest pass blocking guy yet. I do think he'll be better next year, 2 years in Jeff Stoutland's system, if he does have that ability to come back and learn more with Jeff Stoutland and grow as a player and as a part of that offensive line. But unbelievable player in the run game. I mean, unbelievable. And a big part of the reason that we ran for 2,500 yards this year. So I feel really good about him coming back. And I think the one thing that could bring concern there would be the knee. He's had some major knee issues. So we'll see. But overall, I feel really good about Becton coming back. And I think they're going to give him a pretty good contract to come back. I think it could be a 4-year deal.
I think what played into Becton's evolving into a hell of a guard, dude, when you have to line up over Jalen Carter in practice every fucking day in pass rushing drills, and you're lining up over that guy every fucking day, there's nobody in the game you're going to play better than him than the guy in New York,
right,
Dexter Lawrence, and maybe the guy in Kansas City. And I think that had a huge factor in his growth at that right guard position. When you play hey man, when you got that iron sharpening iron kind of bullshit, you had that numerous places this last year.
Right.
A.J. Brown going against Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. What a lesson that is for having guys that are so good on the other side of the ball being able to help you in that position.
So, you know what I will say about what you just said too? I and maybe this is bias, which is fine, but I don't think it is. I get a little bit of that Alabama, Georgia sense right now in the Eagles locker room where if you think about it, that offensive line's going up against that defensive line in practice. Yeah. Those wide receivers, Quinyon Mitchell's lining up on A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Dude, you're not getting a break. You're not getting a break.
No.
Right? And these guys, I think it's making them so much better. And Zack Baun in practice, he's trying to game plan to getting around that Jeff Stoutland-led offensive line. Like, all of those things, I think that Eagles locker room, that's one of the best parts about it right now is that they got great guys all over, and it's making everybody better and get playing better on Sundays.
Every single time we had practices, I can't tell you how many times Jimmy Johnson would come on here. My toughest games were Tuesday to Thursday. They weren't on Saturdays.
Right.
Can you imagine when you were at Alabama, Zander, and you had that backfield, and the toughest part of the week was the week, not the weekend.
It wasn't playing Mercer.
No.
It was playing versus Alabama practice teams, yeah.
Dude, the toughest games you play are Tuesday, Wednesdays, not Saturdays.
That's kind of what I was talking to you yesterday about just the winning culture. And I'm not saying Myles Garrett doesn't have that because he's that good of a player. He would make them better too. But I mean, that type of environment has been forged with the players right now you have in the room. And I think I do think it's worth something. And most people probably wouldn't have the ability to. Most reporters won't look at that as valuable at all.
Jalen Carter has lost 9 games out of 64 pro and college games. 9.
It's insane.
That guy doesn't know what fucking losing is.
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
9 losses in 64 professional and college games. That goes with all the Georgia guys.
Yeah.
I don't know how you'll feel on this one. I saw what Howie Roseman and the Eagles did when they were beginning the process of moving Zach Ertz out. They drafted Dallas Goedert in the 2nd round. Now, I don't think there's a tight end outside of that kid from Penn State, maybe the kid from Texas.
What do you think of that Miami kid?
I think he's really good. I think he's
him.
really good. But you could get him in a latter round, like 3-4, somewhere in there. Okay. I think he's good. I think he's got great hands. Plus, he played in a great pro-styled offense last year. So he's got good hands. And by the way, he's a pretty good blocker too. So he gives you the versatility that you're kind of looking at that position. I'm about ready to move off of Goddard, though, man. I can't.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Bro, I mean, he is – would you not agree? He is the most injured player in the last 4 years in the offensive huddle.
The problem is, Sills, that there's no contingency.
Right.
Like, dude,
Alcantara's not a contingency plan.
When we drafted Goddard, Ertz was 2 years younger than Goddard is right now.
Yep.
Think about that. So you were prepping for the move on from Ertz with a contingency plan you felt good about in place, and even then it took him a couple of years. Like if there's no free agent tight end right now, let me take a look at the list. I don't know what free agent tight ends are out there right now. I will look, but if you don't feel good about any of them,
I don't.
You're talking about a draft guy, and you're not getting Tyler Warren.
No,
so you're not getting a surefire guy like that. I mean. That's a tough situation to replace. So Dallas Goedert's going to be here because of that reason, I think.
Absolutely, because of the shitty free agency and the shitty draft where you're not real deep at it. Absolutely.
Yeah, you got Jawan Johnson, 29-year-old guy.
Look at these guys.
Mike Gesicki, I don't hate. He's going to be 30 coming up next year. So I don't dislike him, but you're not replacing Goddard with a 30-year-old guy.
No,
Tyler Conklin's 30, and I don't think he's that good. Zach Ertz is 35. Austin Hooper. I mean, you're not really looking at a good list of free agent tight ends.
Or draft, by the way, too. I mean, guys, we're going to read all of your supers, I promise here. Let me get to this one here. Your edge rushing room is going to be a little different. Right now, let's just do this, Zander. On February 27th, here are your edge rushers. Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, and Bryce Huff. Those are your 3 guys right now. Those are not good enough because most likely Brandon Graham is going to retire. Josh Sweat is going on the open market. And when you look at the edge guys that are out there, unless it's a $25 million Khalil Mack, I mean, bro, in my opinion, you got to. I would go into the draft, obviously, here. I think that's top priority here, but your edge rushing room is very limited if you lose Josh Sweat. You were limited last year because of the inability of Bryce Huff to step up and perform for you. Now, this is what you have. You have Jalix Hunt, who came on, sure did. Nolan Smith, who ended up under the knife. And theoretically, right now on your roster, if you were to play a game today, the only edge rushers you have right now are Jalix Hunt and who?
Nolan.
Jalix Hunt and Nolan. Those would be your edges with no depth.
And Nolan just got operated on.
Right. So what are you doing there?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jalix Hunt is going to be great. I really do.
Okay.
I think he's going to be a great player. I just don't. I think they're not going to come into the year expecting him to be great until they see it. So that's the problem there. You know, I wonder this. You started the conversation with an interesting topic about how there's not a lot of great players right now out in the offseason for teams to recoup with. Okay. There's good players, but there's nothing that's crazy. No crazy guys out there. Especially
there's nothing that's going to make the world champions jump off their chair.
Exactly. Especially when you're picking 32 in the draft. If you're top 10, we could talk about getting an impact guy.
That's a complete rebuild.
Right. You're talking 32 overall. Could they re-sign Josh Sweat?
Yeah.
I saw something today, and I don't make much of stuff like this, but Jeremy Fowler put out a report.
Everything is open.
Jeremy Fowler put out a report. I think it was a post from his Instagram account, and it was that the Eagles are playing, and Josh Sweat are presumably going to part ways this offseason. Kind of a report like that. Nothing confirmed, but just like we think this is going to happen. And Jeremy Fowler is pretty good. I mean, you know, he's pretty accurate on stuff. Josh Sweat commented on the picture and said, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Again, I'm not saying that means he's going to sign back in Philly. But that would show me, if that's Josh's approach, that, hey, we haven't shut the door on Philly. Maybe a deal doesn't get done, but that door is still open. And then if you're Howie and you look around and you're like, well, I'm not going to get a year one starter at 32. I don't really have the capital to move up into the top 15 to get an impact edge rusher. The defensive ends on the market are no better than Bryce Hufflepuff. I might need to get Josh Sweat back. Now, I don't think Josh Sweat's going to be back. I'm just saying, because of the scenario of the offseason, could Howie go back down that road? I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
Let me tell you the capabilities and the personality of Drew Rosenhaus. If there is Howie Roseman's counter guy for the agent who calls everyone, talks to everyone, and never shuts the door on anyone, it's Drew Rosenhaus. So if anybody says that Drew Rosenhaus and Josh Sweat are still not having preliminary conversations with Howie, you would be fucking out of your mind. That's not how Drew Rosenhaus operates. I've known that guy 45 years.
Yeah.
That's not how he works.
He wants the best deal.
He wants the best deal for his client.
Exactly.
And he's always done that, and he will always do that. That's who that guy is. Now, is he a dick? Yes. But he's going to be in the best interest of that client. And by the way,
hiring an agent,
he's
if I was
also
hiring an agent, one of my top traits would be you better be a dick.
Right. By the way, he's also going to make sure, though, because why? You got a big decision coming up if you're Drew with who else? Slay. That's Slay's agent.
Oh, is it?
Yes. Drew Rosenhaus is Darius Slay's agent. You want to start fucking around?
I think so, at least.
However, no, wait. What you don't want Howie to start doing is diminishing the value of Slay by starting the team to start going, yeah, you were going to move on. Fuck. You want everything to be behind the scenes right now. You know how the fastest way not to have that happen? You start saying we have no chance of going back to Philly. We don't want to talk to them. Dude, what's in it for Howie to go, oh, your other client is Slay? We're fucking cutting him right now.
Right.
We're moving on from him. You're trying to get Slay landed somewhere with some sort of decent money if he wants to play one more year. That's the game you play, Zander, is because these guys, Drew's probably got 700 players. mean, he
Oh,
don't have two guys.
probably for sure. He's got a lot of dudes, dude. Drew Rosenhaus got a lot of dudes. Anytime you hear a guy hire Drew Rosenhaus, you know they're looking for the money.
That's right.
They're
Oh, yes.
looking for the money, baby, and you can't blame them for that. They're looking for the money. But we'll see. You know, it is interesting though because of you just don't. I don't think there's that many guys to replace Josh Sweat with.
Nope.
So like,
I like your thinking. I like your thinking.
Bryce Huff can do anything next year.
No, I think John's like in La La Land with that. I mean, here's what I'm saying. Now, do I think Bryce Huff could be a situational third down pass rusher to help you out? You stabilize the ends, yes. Do I think he could be a 3-down guy? That's not $18 million, but I think you can overpay a guy and he can give you 6 sacks maybe next year. Maybe. The question will be, and I heard you say this, dude, Vic hates that guy.
Yeah.
You deactivate a healthy guy for the Super Bowl,
I know.
the coordinator does not like you.
Well, that's what John was trying to tell me. He wasn't actually healthy, but you know.
Well, then why'd you activate him? Why'd you activate him for the playoffs?
Because they needed a guy before Brandon Graham got back. I look, I'm with you. All right, I'm with you. Don't get me into the argument of defending what John was saying. But that was his point. It was that he's injured. He's going to be healthy again next year. Again, we'll see what happens. I don't know. Twiz says I'd bring back Slay. I'm not sold on Rodgers. Twiz, that's funny because I think if I'm not mistaken, Twiz, you've been saying all year, play the young guys, play the young guys, play the young guys. But you are right in that the situation now. I'd probably feel a little better about Slay coming back than Rodgers.
I don't have a problem with. I thought Rodgers was a good swing corner, but when you're being asked for the main assignment, can he do that? I don't know. I mean, being a swing tackle, guard, corner, linebacker, and then getting the 75 snaps. It's a different world, man. I mean. You got more snaps. You got more work on your body. You got all that. There's so much more than just being a swing. I don't know. I think Isaiah's frame is not built to be an everyday corner.
I don't see it either, but people seem to like him.
Well, because it's 70% of the time you're a nickel. Okay. And the league is not really a tackling league any longer. It's a game played in space.
Right.
So that's kind of why people like him. Let me go to another position. What about D-tackle? You think Milton's gone?
I do think Milton's gone, and I'm not really upset about that one. I think Moro Ajomo is good. Not great, but I think he's good enough. I think Jordan Davis is going to have a bigger role this year, and you're going to learn real quick whether they're going to bring him back or he's going to be gone. And I think Jalen Carr is going to continue to get better as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if they draft a young defensive tackle, maybe even with that first overall pick. So put that guy into the mix. And I do think you have some good options that will be there at 32. So I'm not worried about Milton Williams being gone. I do think he's going to be gone. I think it does fall into kind of what we talked about yesterday with I love Milton. He was great here, but this is a product of he's going to get overpaid by a team because that's just how business goes in the NFL.
And the market.
Right, and the market goes. So he's going to get overpaid. He's going to walk, and I don't think he'll be back.
Here is something that I said earlier in the first hour, dude, Carter's the linchpin to this defense.
Yes.
It's not Baun.
Yes, it's not Baun.
It's not. Like I pointed out to you, look at Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is considered one of the best defensive players in the league. His team was 31st against the run. How can you be one of the best players in the league? You have to have great D tackle play. If you don't, your defense has no shot at being good, man. You have no shot.
No, but here's the thing I'll say about Baun. He wasn't the linchpin, but he is the guy that put the defense over the top. If Jalen Carter didn't have good help behind him, what he was done would have been lost a little bit. Agree or no?
I think Carter impacted everybody.
I'm not saying he didn't impact it. I'm saying when you have a guy that good behind you, he makes those good plays even better, more impactful.
You're right. You're right. Of course, look at the year he had. But to me, I tell you, with the linebacker room, where it is, and with the D tackles, I think you need to get, like you said, that 32nd pick. I think that's an interior tackle or edge, but I'm going to build from within, inside out, not outside in.
Right.
And if I have to move out of that 32nd to get me 2 second rounders or 3 second rounders, so I can address all of that, because like you just said a couple minutes ago, dude, the differences between 50 and 15 are like a sliver. And so if I can get good players in there, why not give myself more of an option at more second rounders in a very limited draft? Because, hey, dude, if I was picking 15 or 10, that's a different world we're in. If you're picking 32nd, this is all about replacing and upkeep. Replacing and upkeep. To me, if I've got Vic Fangio and I've got Jalen Carter and I get maybe the kid from Ole Miss or the kid from Kentucky, I put him in there with Jordan Davis, with Booker, with Ojima, with him. You got all those guys back there. I feel pretty comfortable if I lose Baun and I could go out in free agency if I have to. Dude, the linebacking core stinks in this draft. It just stinks outside of the kid from Bama.
Yeah,
and you're not taking that kid at 32.
No, we're not. We're not at all. And that kid can freaking play. That kid can play. Jihad Campbell.
He's great.
But no, you're right. I mean, that's what makes this linebacker thing done. Now, the one thing is, I do like some of the things you brought up. I mean, I like the Bolton thing. I don't hate that as a contingency plan. I don't hate the Dre Greenlaw plan either.
What about Edwards? TJ Edwards.
Edwards, I don't think he's going to fit what Vic is going to ask him to be. You know, Vic or TJ was a great physical linebacker, but he wasn't
versatile enough.
He wasn't versatile enough, exactly. And you kind of have 2 super versatile guys right now this year, at least with Nakobe and Baun. Nakobe's not ready for the start of the year. He might be. I don't know. I'm with you. Based on the way he was talking, it didn't sound like he was going to be ready, but people are saying 6 months.
His youth helps him.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But we'll see. I mean, Oren Burks, you think he'll be back? I think he could be back.
Yes. I think I think he's been in 2 Super Bowls 2 years in a row.
Yeah, it's true.
I'll say this. I think he's one of the most important signs because he gives you and he hedges your bets on both ends.
Right.
Dean, say you sign Baun. Well, there's your Super Bowl starters in September until Dean comes back, and then he can win his job back. Or how about this? If Baun goes out and signs a stupid free agent contract because of the shitty free agent market and the draft, then you have Oren Burks. Then you get a guy like a Bolton. You put him in there. Then you got Dean coming back, and you got the 2 tackles in front of you. You drafted that guy from Ole Miss. You strengthen your D tackles, your linebacking core. I mean, dude, this guy's got 2 Super Bowl rings, that kid from Kansas City, and he's 24. Yeah. I'm all right with that.
No, I'm with you. And
he was coached by Steve Spagnuolo. Now he's going to go be coached by Vic Fangio. I think the guy, if you talk about a guy who's a replacement for that in a plan B, I think he's a plan B guy, don't you?
Yeah, I do. It's going to be interesting to see what they do at all these spots. I mean, the linebacker's interesting. I do think that's a good option, but you got to think that with the way that the offseason is set up there, Baun, I mean, they got to be trying to get Baun back. I mean, even if it costs you a couple extra million, right?
I just really, again, Zander, by the way, guys, please hit the like button. I just tell you, of course, I saw that sound clip on IP's website with Baun going, hey, it's out of my hands, upper management's my agent. Now it's public negotiating. I get it. You don't want to devalue anything here. So I understand. But dude, man, I mean, he didn't even sound like and Gary Cobb's going to join us at 4:30. By the way, he didn't even sound like he was like, hey, this is going to be a decision that my agent, I make, and really pretty theoretically, the Eagles make on how high the Eagles are going to go. I mean, I think the Eagles have a ceiling on this. I don't think they're going to go hey, dude, just because you got extra money and the cap is at 79.2, that don't 279.2, that don't mean.
I know. Here's my thing with this,
opening the bank.
John's always telling me how he doesn't think in 10-year increments. He thinks in 3-year increments.
Yeah.
Right? So if you look, though, and you're like, all right, the window is open for this team for 3 years. How the hell are you going to let a guy who was that good and that important to your defense go without a real good option to replace him? And really, even if you had a great option to replace him, as far as I'm concerned, outside of Fred Warner and Roquan Smith, nobody's really that guaranteed to replace him. So the guy's right there. You have him in your building already. Just pay him the money.
Yeah, but
if
Zander,
you truly believe that you have a window for 3 years, Sills, you can't let that guy walk out the door.
But Zander, let me ask, have the Eagles ever had a plan, and you're watching now covering the team, have they ever had a plan at linebacker?
No.
Why would that change now?
Because they were the number one defense and won the Super Bowl.
Okay.
If it doesn't change now, it'll never change. And if it'll never change, then you got a flawed system.
I think it's 50-50. It changes. I think they believe so much in their picking of players and their evaluating of players that they feel, once again, just like the coaches, that the front office is going to make the right decisions for the team. And guess what, Zander? Last 7 years, you can't dispute them.
No, you can't. You know, I saw a funny thing on Eagles Facebook or whatever, Eagles Twitter or something the other day, and it was like, here's a scenario. You just woke up from a coma you went into in 2016, and the first thing you ask is, how are my Eagles doing? And somebody says, they won 2 Super Bowls, they've been to 3, and they won the NFC 5 times. And you would look at them and say, wow, Carson Wentz is going to the Hall of Fame. And I'm like, no, you wouldn't say that anymore because Carson Wentz isn't even here anymore. But it is crazy how much. Look, I do think there's an element of, you know, we don't quite realize how great this time is for the Eagles. This is a really dominant football team. It's a really good organization right now. They're operating at their best level. But I'm telling you right now, if that window's open, Zack Baun's got to be back. He's got to be back. There's no promise that anybody else would be comparable. And then there's also no promise your defense will be anywhere near as good without linebacker play that was like it was this year, or at least comparable to it.
Let me go here with you. One more here, and then we'll get to the supers here. This Slay move impacts 2 positions. And it's not that easy just to go, well, I'm going to get off of Slay to $12 million. Okay. So are you going to move Cooper DeJean out of the nickel and put him on the number out there? If you are, what are you going to do with the nickel? You going to bring Avonte Maddox back?
It's harder to replace nickel based on what our conversation this morning, where it's like there's just not as many guys there. So I don't know. Cooper DeJean's interesting. I believe he could be the outside corner, but if you're telling me you feel like you can replace it easier, keep him on the inside, you know. And then the one thing I wonder is, what's the agent going to be saying? And then is it going to be a situation where Cooper DeJean is caught up in the middle of an evolution in the NFL where you're paid less on position and more on your value to the overall defense? Because we had a lot of different outside corners play last year. You had Keeley at times. You had Isaiah Rodgers at times. Slay went down a lot. Even Quinyon went down a couple times. I mean, your defense was always great. Your defense was not great when you had another guy playing the slot corner before Cooper DeJean. So, again, I'm not saying that that's more valuable, but
you're on.
You keep him there. You have more of a rotating door at the outside corner, and then when Cooper's contract comes, you pay him like you pay him like the value that he is. I don't know.
Let me show you something here. 23. Where was the defense weak? It was weak up the middle. Tackles couldn't stop the run at the end. Linebackers were horrible, and the safety position was not very good. Where were you the strongest this year? The tackle positions, the interior linebacker positions, and the safety positions.
Right.
You were more dominant at the safety positions. You were so good in the heart of the defense this year, all the way up the middle.
Right.
That's why you could put Rodgers in on a swing
right.
and play corner. You could put anybody in at the edge rushing.
Don't you want to replicate that?
Yes, you want to make sure the strength of your team is interior, up the middle of your defense. They were so good at every level last year. Tackle, linebacker, safety.
Right, and if you're not good in the middle, it's like a crack in the foundation. Everything else suffers because of it.
Correct. So that's why if you lose Sweat, okay, do I still have Carter Davis and the backup guys in the middle? All right, let's go. Let's see if we can get the kid Sawyer here or what have him, put him on the other side of Nolan. You're still going to be okay.
So
My
isn't it
opinion,
Baun or bust?
it seems that because to me, I would be contradicting what I just said. You've got to remain strong up the middle.
Yeah. If you're gonna live with changes, let the changes be outside the
Yeah.
middle.
Let them be outside the middle of the defense. Let them be on the corner because I was just going to go to Slay. Let them be out there.
Right.
Keep the Gene in the middle because you know what he could turn out to be? Kyle Hamilton in a nickel version.
Right. And the other thing is they moved Marlon Humphrey played slot this year, and he got paid like an outside cornerback previously. So you're already, someone brought up Diamador Lenoir, his name is, the San Francisco guy. He was a 5th-round draft pick a couple of years ago. He got paid like 5 years, nearly $90 million, $18 million a year he got, and he plays mostly in the slot. So I wonder if that's what I was saying with is Cooper in the middle of a change in the NFL where you could start to see those guys valued more, especially as a Swiss Army knife guy that can move all around the field. So maybe though the pressure from his agent will lessen if Howie says, look, dude, he's going to get paid. I promise you he's going to get paid like a top outside guy, top corner.
Do not look at size any longer in the NFL because the game is played way more in space.
Yeah.
Okay. But where you got to be strong in today's NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles completely changed the dynamic of that. You were number one because of the tackle play, the linebacker play, the safety play, and the corners benefited. The corners benefited so much from the tackle play and the linebacking play. They shrunk the zone, which was so wide open in 23 at the end of the year. Dude, you could have drove a dump truck through it. You could have, but you know what they did? Because Baun was so versatile, he shrunk that zone. And dude, when I got winning culture, Zander, we talk about those Georgia guys. We talk about the Bama guys. We talk about the Eagle roster in general and what they've done since 21. Think about this. You got a guy in Burks who's been to 2 straight Super Bowls, played in great in this last one against Kansas City. I want him re-signed. He's one of my top guys I want re-signed. And you know what? If I got to pay him $5, I don't care. He hedges my bets.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with everything you're saying right now. I think you're really laying out how this team can have a formula to be a great defense for years to come. And I just don't see how, based on what you just said, you can allow fluctuation at that linebacker spot.
And we still don't know what Sidney Brown's going to look like yet.
Yeah, but I don't want to put my hopes. I'm not putting my hope in Sidney Brown.
No. I know, but you know what? I see something kind of there. I want to give him, dude, I got to tell you, I'm starting to go cold on Keely Ringo.
Me too. And I'm not quite as warm on Sidney Brown as you are.
Okay.
Right now what I see, and I might be wrong, I hope Sidney Brown can be a player, but I see a super physical guy. I see a guy who plays with his hair on fire, which is great things. But right now, I see it suited for special teams perfectly, and okay. I haven't quite seen him translate that to in-game play to play, competent football, play after play, on the defense. I don't know. Maybe he can be, but right now I see him as a great special teams guy. I hope he doesn't stick at that. I hope he doesn't get stuck in glue and he can't improve on that. But that's where I see him right now. That's why I don't want to rely on him, moving forward. But I think he could be an option, in a couple of years.
Remember what Vic likes, though. Vic likes those special teams guys to be able to make safeties and linebackers. That's where he finds those guys. And so maybe a little more work on the special teams will give him. Hey, remember something. Like you said, you got to play with your hair on fire on special teams.
Yeah, that's
maybe
true.
that does fit.
He does have that.
It's his mentality there.
There's no doubt he has that hair on fire mentality. No doubt. No, I like him. I don't want to act like I don't like him. I'm not ready to go into the season with him being a plan to play on the defense. That's where I'm at with him. I'm not that quite there. And like you just said on Keely Ringo, it's time, young man. You're going in year 3 now. So if you can't prove something this year,
I know he's young.
Probably out. Yeah,
I know he's young.
Super young.
Okay.
Drafted super raw. But yeah, he's got to turn that page. He's got to open, turn the page and become competent.
Hey, folks, you want to hear something funny about Keely Ringo? This is his 2nd year. He's going on his 3rd year. Is that right? Jaden Daniels will be 26 years old next year. This guy's 22 and he's got 3 years in the league.
Crazy, dude. It's crazy.
Hey,
dude, COVID really changed that with these rookies. There's so many. Like Jalen Hurts is going into his 5th year starting, 6th year in the NFL, and he's my age. Jane Daniels is 1 or 2 years behind us. It's crazy. So, yeah, that's a big advantage.
COVID did all this.
Yeah.
This is what I said about this draft. Then we'll read the Super Zander. This is what I said about the draft. I think the last 2 years they were backlogged with all the COVID kids, and that's why you really had 2 great draft classes. I think this is the post-COVID ones now because you didn't get that 6-year eligibility that you had, And that's why I'm looking at this draft and I go, dude, if I'm drafting a quarterback, it's next year. It's Arch Manning. It's not fucking any of these guys.
Yeah.
You hear what Baldinger said yesterday? He goes, if Bo Nix was in this draft, he'd be number 1 overall. Like when you see Abdul Carter, do you see Will Anderson?
No. And I like Abdul Carter. I do not. I don't see
that Will Johnson guy. Do you see Darryl Stingley Jr.?
You know what I see in Abdul Carter? I see a
Hassan Reddick.
I see a I guess Hassan Reddick. I see a Nolan Smith. I see a Micah Parsons, just an undersized, speedy edge rusher. Like that. Look, comparing him to Micah Parsons,
there's a place for that.
Micah Parsons is a good player in the league, so I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but he's not that Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa type of guy. There's not that, but he is a good player, though. I do like him.
Are you warming up to my guy Jack Sawyer at 32?
I like Jack Sawyer at 32. I don't know if he fits. Does he fit Vic's defense?
Well, when you watch him in that playoff games and you watch him at Ohio State, I saw him with his hand down and up, and I think you could play him at a 34, 43. I mean,
well, you're going to need that. We know that.
He's 6 foot. He plays like Van Kinkel. If you like Van Kinkel was first team All-Pro.
Yeah, he's not as big as I thought. I mean, he's 6'4", 260.
Perfect.
That's not crazy.
That's perfect for that.
That is perfect for that.
Yeah, you put him on the other side of Nolan Smith. So your front four would be Nolan Smith, Jack Sawyer, and your 2 tackles. And if you get Baun back, you had Baun and Nakobe or Orrin until Nakobe gets back. That's your front 7.
That's
Bro,
good.
That's taking care of business.
Wait, who did you have at the other DT? Just Davis and Carter?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
So I'm going to play a 4 now if you want to, or draft a kid. Okay, no, or take a kid in the 2nd round, one of those defensive tackles, because like I said, remember what you said.
Yeah.
Between 15 and 50, they're the same dude.
Yep.
Just got different names on the back of the jerseys, right?
Well, yeah, we'll see how they all pan out. But no, there are some good tackles in there too. I mean, there's that one. I'm blanking on that one guy's name. Let me pull it in my notes.
Which
one?
One
guy's name I like a lot, but I think he's going to go before 32.
Shamir Stewart?
No, Walter Nolan.
Yeah.
Walter Nolan, he's a great player. I like him on the interior a lot, but I don't think he's going to get there to 32. There's some options there. I like Jack Sawyer, though. The way you just explained that was nice. I could see that. And then you have him and Jalix rotating as your rotational 2, and then Bryce Huff as your 4th option at edge rusher. I feel much better about that. Now, again, dude, every sign right now points to you got to get Zach Baun signed. If the other 3 walk, you live with it. I think Becton will be back, but you got to get Zach Baun signed, because if you don't get Zach Baun signed, now you're going to have so much change on your defense. There's no way to project they'll be even as good as – there's no way to even look here, when we're in August talking training camp and say, okay, here's the number 1 overall defense. That's going to be so different. You're going to say –
the middle strong, you'll be okay.
So Baun, get freaking Baun signed.
Keep the middle of the defense strong. You can afford to lose guys on the perimeter, dude. Dude, you're only as strong – the Eagles won the Super Bowl because of how they were up the middle of their team. Look at this: center, quarterback, running back. Take that and go the other way. I mean, God, you're so good up the middle here. Let's get to the Super Zander because we got Gary at the bottom of the hour here.
Abe checks in. What's up, Abe? Hope you're doing well, brother. Reddick, Chance, and trade Slay for Carlton Davis. I'm going to say no on Reddick, and I'm going to say no on Slay for Carlton Davis because I don't think the Lions will do that.
They're not going to trade a 34. They're not going to trade for a 34-year-old guy with a $12 million nut on him.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. And a guy who was injured on and off, albeit he played well.
Slay is 0 trade value.
0.
Yeah.
He wouldn't if he was making somewhere like 6, but he's making 12. Not happening.
Anthony Wilson, the tight end from Michigan, is good as well. I want to say, is that Colston Loveland?
Yes. Yes.
I like him too, Anthony. I like him too, Colston Loveland. He's a good player. Brian Fleming checks in. What's up, Brian? I want to recognize Big Sills for bringing great voices on the show. Baldinger, Eric Allen, Jimmy Johnson, to name a few. Elevates the convo for Jacob. You're a dog. I don't care if you can't read. Don't take shit from anyone.
Thank
Good
you, dog.
stuff,
We
man.
appreciate
It,
that.
man. And then last one here, and we'll get to GCOP. TH from the 203. What's up, man? Do the NFLPA report cards mean anything to us? I know the Dolphins have won the science fair as usually, which is squat. Yeah, I don't think they mean much.
Can I make a point before I get Gary Cobb on here? Gary Cobb played at the old Eagle Vet. We had cats and rats. Let me just tell you this as a player. It's good to have a good training room. It's good to have a good mess hall. But at the end of the day, as long as that paycheck, you're paying me top dollar in the market, I don't give a shit if you have a nice couch. I don't give a shit if you have a nice slurping machine. Pay me. I'll go to an LA Fitness, bitch. I don't care if I have to work out. Just pay me.
If you pay me right, I can go to a little nicer than the LA Fitness too. I could go to a Lifetime or an Equinox or something like that.
I'll put a gym in my house. I don't need to have. Hey, bro, you paying me? You're giving me the money that Howie does? I don't need a fucking slurping machine.
I'm with you.
I don't care about that shit, man. Yeah. But by the way, though, I do have a quote here that I do want to say. So the players find it hard to communicate with Nick Sirianni? Where the fuck did that come from?
Oh, come on. That's fake news. That's bottom roster, guys.
Wait a second. I got that up. There it is right there. It's
Nick Sirianni changed the entire team when Lane Johnson said, I want to run more. What are you talking about?
Hold on for a second.
The players. The whole team won a Super Bowl because he listened to the players.
Hold on.
Fake news. Hey, there's been a lot of fake news this week, Sileo.
Hey, hold on for a second. This is what I just read off the NFLPA. This is the player saying, let's see here. Head coach. The players feel that Sirianni is moderately receptive to locker room feedback on the team's needs. They ranked him 18 of 32 head coaches in the league. What?
Silly will be using that one line from that for a month of content. So I love you. I got to go. All right. Enjoy the show.
Get out of here, man. I appreciate you, Zander. We'll see you tomorrow, man. Holy cow. Moderately receptive to oh man. Hey, so Gary Cobb, I'm sure because he was at Southern Cal. Anytime you do a pro day and you get some of the weirdest questions asked, I told you I had Jerry Angelo and I had Rich McKay who were with the Bucks. And G Cobb's going to laugh his ass off before I bring him in on this. They go, how many Mafia family members do you have? And I remember telling Jerry Angelo, I go, excuse me, don't you have an O at the end of your name too? And he goes, yeah. I go, well, how many Goombas do you have in your family? And by the way, if I was knee deep in it, I wouldn't be here.